r/AskReddit. What is your high school crush doing now? Well, I swapped crushes practically monthly. One went to the same college I did and evidently dropped out like 3 semesters in. Surprising. She was really smart and had loved chemistry before. She was going to be a chemical engineer. Also apparently she's gay. One was going to be an elementary school teacher. She dropped out and works at a preschool now. Still cute AF. I was going to make a comment about her current stylistic choices. Kinda goth-like, but with lots of pastels instead of black. But while googling that to figure out the correct terminology, I discovered this fantastic illustration on WikiHow and keep giggling. Apparently the term is literally just pastel goth. For anyone wondering, one said she was going to move to Korea, massive Koribu in high school. According to the actual Korean kids there, she was pretty much fluent, but I saw her at a local and in convention like a year ago, so I guess that didn't work out. She has no social media presence though, so no idea beyond that. One works at a local ice cream place and seems to really enjoy the food, if you get my drift. Still cute though. I'm still in college with one of them. She's a nursing major. But we don't really get much time to talk because apparently nursing involves a shitload of studying. One went to the same college as me but dropped out like 2 semesters in, but a pharmaceutical company in New York agreed to pay for the rest of his education, so he moved there. Married now I think. One is now running what I understand to be a decently profitable pot farm. Pot is still illegal here, so hopefully that doesn't end up being a problem. One moved back to India. Apparently her dad is some rich dude over there, and they own some elephants or something. I dunno. He is a high school financial literacy teacher at my daughter's high school. True story, when I was a freshman, he was a senior. He spread word around that he liked me and wanted to hang out. We got to know each other. He asked me to homecoming. I was so excited. We go to homecoming with another couple and this dickwad ditches me at the dance for the girl from the other couple who went with US. It was a setup. The guy was too scared to ask me out, so he had dickwad do it, and they set this holy thing up. 2013 or so, dickwad finds me on Facebook. Sends a friend request. I accept thinking man. Fuck this motherfucking piece of shit. But I wonder what he is up to. A few weeks later, Dickwad and another dude we went to school with asked me out for coffee to catch up. The MLM pitch. They didn't want to catch up. They wanted to pitch me their Orwin Woodward cult couples financial freedom pyramid scheme. I was so fucking mad. He got me again. Imagine my surprise when I learn that this piece of human excrement is a fucking financial literacy teacher and his class is required to graduate. I've seen the guy in passing at parent-teacher conferences and holy shit he is visually massively uncomfortable. I know he knows who I am, and he knows what a piece of shit I think he is, and that he is a pyramid scheme shill. I cannot wait until parent-teacher conferences in fall of 2020. Like I'm counting down. I want him to have to sit across from me in a professional setting and explain his curriculum to me, and I have questions for him about his teachings. TL. Doctor, turns out he was a huge piece of shit, and then he grew up to be a bigger piece of shit. If you're seeing this, fuck you Nick. She died far too young. I taught hockey in Canada during summers off from high school. I'm American, and met her one summer day on a nearby beach. We fell in love immediately and wrote letters, actual letters, back and forth during the school year, and I would go back to teach again each summer until we graduated high school. Then we would visit each other for months at a time, as long as immigration would allow, for a few years until one day I asked her to marry me. I never had a doubt that she was the one. I was just worried because I didn't feel like I could offer her much of a life until I realized I was the life she wanted. We shared the happiest years of our lives together until she told me she had been feeling sick and very tired no matter what she did. She died of cancer shortly after. She went so fast. It was like when you light the fuse on a firework, the brief spark she had was just snuffed out. I watched her life just disappear. I held her hand as she vanished into thin air. I still remember the smell of the cancer on her when I kissed her goodbye. I just wanted to pause the world so she could live her life then when we were all ready and it was time she could go peacefully. It just doesn't work that way. I miss her every single day. I lost my heart that day. I wish it was me that died, but at the same time, I would hate myself for leaving her to feel like I do. I was so broken. I still am. I decided that day I could never love like that again. Wherever you are, Natalie, I love you. I haven't spoken of her to anyone in 8 years. Edit. Holy crap, this blew way up. I'm trying to reply to every single person, but I'm falling way behind. I will reply to each and every person who took the time to say something to me as soon as I can, but I'm going to answer some of the themes I see here though. Yes, I should probably see a psychologist/psychiatrist. I won't, but I should. I don't disagree. I spent like almost 2 years in bed after this went down. I'm good though. Promise. I went on to finish my higher level education, but I can't find a job in my field. I had a job that made me want to actually die every day. I then was fired for reasons outside of my control. Currently in litigation regarding that actually. I was recently dumped by the longest GF I have had since Natalie passed. I moved back to my parents' house and got back into bed. That was 3 months ago. All I can think of is moving somewhere overseas where I have no memories of her. Please don't worry, I will not arrange a meeting between she and I myself. I will see her again one day, but I'm not going to speed that date up, so don't worry. I posted to another redditor about a lyric from one of Rahab's songs. I ain't doing good, but I'll be fine. It's accurate. I'm almost 40 now. Holy shit. I just realized that, and I'm not holding out too much hope of finding someone, but that is okay. I'm as happy as is possible given the circumstances. If you are going to gift me gold or silver, find someone who could really use it. I don't feel very deserving of it, and I don't want you to waste your money on me/this. I never thought I would get a reaction such as this. I'm honestly humbled and blown away by this attention and reaction. I'm usually such a wallflower/lurker. I mean, I went 2 years on this account without really making any comments. Thank you all so much for making this a positive experience. Edit 2. It is 0100 in the morning and I'm falling asleep, and I have been typing pretty much non-stop for the last 4 hours. If I haven't replied to you, I will. I have tried keeping up with all the comments, but there are too many good people in here giving support. I will respond. Thank you all so much for such positivity. I'm honestly blown away seeing how kind Reddit strangers are. Well, we both grew up in a shitty Texas town. Now she lives in New York in an expensive condo with a view. She's a project manager at some large company making 100k plus and is marrying a very attractive man. She still has her swimmer's body too. My life is good. It's just not that good. I moved to Seattle and live in a stylish apartment with a view of the water. I write novels and do computer science stuff, making above average money for Americans. Anyway, I don't feel bad at all. At the end of the day, she didn't like/love me for whatever reason, and I can't stay with a person who doesn't like/love me. I've had many other partners since I knew her, some of which have really blown my mind. I'm quite happy where I'm at. I went to my 10-year reunion not long ago. Mr. Crush and I are Facebook friends, but were never even really friends back in the day. Since then, he was a model for Lucky Brand jeans and has moved up to the styling side behind the camera. He is still quite pretty. My husband came to the reunion and couldn't stop laughing when Mr. Crush came up to me, asked me what I was drinking, and I stammered Mellet. Mr. Crush proceeds to good-naturedly and drunkenly tell Hubs we had lockers next to each other 1 year, and it would make sense my husband would be successful and handsome, considering I was beautiful and a good student back then. Meanwhile, I was slowly melting against a wall, drunk. Too many handsome men in front of me. Is it hot in here? No? Just me? If I could go back in time, I'd tell 15-year-old me that someday she'd be married to a stud and the boy she could never, and still can barely, talk to thought she was beautiful all along. Edit. Punctuation. March 2018, they finally vacated his death penalty and changed the judgment to life in prison. He had been eligible for sentencing since 2011 due to ineffective counsel at his trial. Joey was a kind and decent kid when I knew him. He helped his father run the family business and cared for his father when he became ill and continued to keep the family business running. He was my first crush and my first real boyfriend. He treated me very well. So many firsts with Joey. First flowers from a boy. He gave me my first teddy bear. First French kiss etc. Basically learned a lot about sex together. Opened the car door for me, etc. Unfortunately, due to my shitty home life and a crazy mother, we were essentially forced apart and then grew apart. Started hanging out with different friend groups and basically drifted away from each other. School, work, life happened and we got further apart. We would run into each other here and there, and there was always a lot of warmth and caring, each always excited to see the other. We both made some life-altering mistakes in the years leading up to this event. And at one point he even reached out to me to talk and offer a shoulder when he heard about the bad road I was on. He was kind like that. I'm so glad they vacated the death penalty in his case. He had such suck-ass defense attorneys and they really were not fit to represent him in a death penalty case. I'm not condoning what he did to David Bernstein, and I wish David's family a measure of peace. I think about Joey often, and I wish we'd both stayed the course instead of following the paths we did. Joey has found a way to better himself while on death row. He even has invented and patented some things from inside. And of course found religion. Doesn't everyone on death row get some Jesus fever? So, I wish him some moments of peace living with his actions, and I wish him a measure of happiness too. Edit. Words are hard sometimes. Still in the same area, so am I. We are still really good friends and hang out a lot. It's been 6 years since graduation, and I still can't tell if she likes me or not. Don't think she's been in a relationship and she doesn't date. Thought she may have been gay for a while. She recently got a Bumble account and is matching with guys, so that rules out the gay thing. And now I'm apparently her dating confidant. Shit hurts. Don't really want to ruin a great friendship over my stupid feelings. Edit. Honestly, this thread is a little depressing. I think I might just tell her and see what happens. Carp them deems or something. My high school crush was one of my best friends and I never told her until senior year because I was in an on-again/off again relationship all throughout high school. In one of the last off-again segments of my high school career I told her that I sort of had a crush on her and she reciprocated the same feelings. She even asked me to prom, which looking back is the only time a girl has been proactive in trying to date me. A week before prom my ex and I got back together and I had to break the news to my friend that I wouldn't be going to prom with her. Her family had dinner reservations and everything. Really strained our friendship after that, especially because my girlfriend didn't let me talk to her. I still feel awful about it, but my ex really had some grotesque hold on me. I ended up moving out of state a year out of high school, and on my last week in town I ran into her coincidentally, and we talked for like 2 minutes, but the TLDR of that convo was basically hi bye. Looked her up. She's married, is a Christian school teacher, and has seemingly traveled the world. All the things she wanted to do when she grew up. Good for her. She's married now to a guy that looks like a carbon copy of myself. Well, not my current self, but rather my awkward ugly duckling middle school self from back when we first met. Seriously, the dude is like 30, but I could easily mistake him for a 14-year-old club president if I saw him passing by. She gained some weight, but still looks alright, so normally I'd question why exactly she's with a guy like this. But I won't, because I remember the reason we broke up too well. She was an adamant defender of cheating, going as far as singing praise to her mother's lover right in front of her dad. Really vile stuff. So to her, that poor dude is probably just a backup to come home to. You'd think that I'm not quite over her, since I'm so knowledgeable about her life. But no, the real reason is even worse. She's also a cosplayer, and not a completely unknown one. Googling some fairly popular WoW/HOTS characters brings up photos of her and her husband at the very top of the page. I've been seeing their shit for years now. And since you pervs are going to ask anyway, yes, it's kinda hot. No, I wouldn't. Too much crazy. In high school, one of my best friends, also my crush, wanted to go to UNLV and study hospitality management and work her way up to running a Vegas hotel/casino. She chose a cheaper local college in-state, which is fine and made sense, but after her junior year she got an internship offer to work for a Vegas strip hotel for the summer and a decent shot at a job there afterwards. Based on the program history, she passed on this opportunity because being away from her family was too much of a trade-off for her. I never understood that. We stopped being friends. The crush had been long gone. I couldn't see her the same and things I thought we had in common no longer existed. She is married and happy, I think, so I guess it worked out. I just can't understand how someone could want something for so long and then just let the chance go. Freshman crush, bouncing from person to person, probably on drugs, barely scraping by. Sophomore crush, turned out to be a huge drama queen and just not my type. Currently dating a flighty guy who's about to join the Air Force, meanwhile she'll be away at university. Junior crush, dated her for a while. Turns out she was pregnant with her ex's kid the whole time. Only lasted about 3 months. She's now with said ex, I guess not ex anymore, raising a kid in her parents' house just a block away from mine. Senior crush, currently about to pick her up from an interview at Lowe's. We've been together 2 years now. Yeah, I've dodged a couple of bullets in my short lifetime. Last I checked, she turned into an artsy type woman who dresses like Grimes, smokes cigarettes, and drinks Pabst exclusively. I'm sure her life's anthem is the song West Coast by Fiddler. Man, I remember the first time I ever seen her. It was the first day of freshman year. I walked in the front office to get my class schedule, and she was in line to get her class textbooks. I remember she had pink bangs and reminded me of Britney Spears. I don't really think about her anymore. Just looked her up on Instagram and she just got married 2 weeks ago. I never made any attempt at showing her how much I liked her. She was way out of my league. Every dude liked her. She seems happy as ever. Very cool. Still as beautiful as I remember. I dated my high school crush for 2 years. She cheated. I broke up with her to pursue someone else. I set her up with one of our best friends, and then we didn't talk for 2 years. Then I set her up with a friend of my ex. She's with him now, and they live about 2 hours away. I pressured her into sex shortly after my ex, and I broke up, but before she and this guy I introduced her to got together. I feel bad about it. It's probably why we don't talk now. I was in a bad place at the time, so I really wanted this girl's affection again as she's very successful and a bombshell, so it validated me. Made me feel like I was desirable for a little bit. I'd like to apologize and rebuild, but how much of that is seeking validation I couldn't begin to tell you. 1. Dumped me for a bad crowd a week. After we went to college, had a kid and the dad bounced. She did finish college eventually and landed a decent job in her/our backwater hometown. Single and adoring her little boy. Doing great according to FB. 2. After a whirlwind off/on again LDRE connection in college, she dropped out to go work as a bank teller. Met a chubby guy and got fired. Seems happily married, and that makes me glad to see, since she's a good person. 3. Boarding a plane to fly home to me after spending a week thoughtfully helping her dad after his hip replacement surgery. She continues to be a sweetheart and the absolute love of my life. She will be celebrating 10 years of owning this house with me this fall and 6 years of blissful marriage with me this spring. If not clear, we married but not until well after school was over. We had 2 kids right after HS. She was cheating 5 years later and we split. She married the bread guy she was cheating with, and he proceeded to fuck her head completely over the next 10 years, constantly cheating. but she stayed because she grew up poor and he reconnected dear old dad around 4 years in. Dad's a billionaire with a B, so it was $5k watches, Shell BGT 500 daily, at least $250k in toys like motorcycle and travel trailer etc. She finally left him. She's like 2 years into a new relationship and just had another fucking baby at 44 unplanned. I have had so many wonderful moments of schadenfreude over the years, but was cordial for the kids and we actually became friends. So fucking glad that ended when it did. She went wild into gender studies and sociology stuff in college. Last I heard she was teaching at an all-girls school in India. A lot of her FB photos are taken with other women in settings that suggested to me that they might be more than friends, so I might not have been her type anyway. I see meme-like things from her in my newsfeed occasionally, but they seem to be geared towards radical feminist ideologies and I just plain don't understand most of them. It's not that I disagree, I legitimately don't get the point they're trying to make, and I consider myself to be a socially very liberal progressive person. Shit got weird, man. My high school crush is crushing CrossFit. She cut the party lifestyle and she doesn't drink much anymore. Actively promotes not drinking alcohol at parties and stuff all the time. Still a rugby fan, as am I, and she's utterly drop dead gorgeous still. Really sucks knowing I was too shit scared as a high school kid to be more confident speaking to her. Spent every year in mostly the same classes, constantly turning my head in English to look back at her, which I'd be amazed if she didn't realize, or anyone else for that matter too, and even ended up as house captains of our house, so even more opportunities to talk to her, make her laugh etc. I would have handled that totally differently if I had my confidence I have today. Really happy for her though. She seemingly has her shit together after a rough patch post high school. The one that got away basically because I was totally fucking useless with girls to even find out if she liked me too, but probably not guessing how I must have come across being a total loser with ladies. I remained friends with my HS crush. I always had an unexplainable attraction to him. He was such a kind soul. I was a teen parent and had all kinds of things happening in my life and he with his. Through the years though we remained great friends. I with my relationship to my children's father and he with his relationships. We grew up and years later we are both divorcing from our spouses. Both terrible breakups. We hadn't spoken in 2 years and he was searching for me through social media. He finds me and we begin our friendship where we left off. Things naturally start happening between us. It felt comfortable and nice and right. We've been together for a little over 4 years now, and it's the most perfect relationship I could ever ask for. He gets me, he appreciates me, and I him. It was definitely worth the wait. We are in our mid-30s now, so definitely a bit of a wait. Just speaking about our journey through friendship and now partners makes me tear up. You always yearn for someone who is perfect for you, but you never in your wildest dreams think you'll actually find them. Sorry for the rambling, I hope I make sense. I read somewhere else about regret of not asking or telling your high school crush about your feelings. In the middle of my high school career my folks went bankrupt. Dad got really sick and we had to move. Went from the capital city to a farm 40 minutes outside a small town on the coast. The last night that I was allowed out before we would move down I get really wasted with friends. The girl I'm crushing hard on gives me a card at the party and I'm so drunk I do not read it. Walking home after the party trying to sober up before we get to my friend's house, I finally remember the card and read it. My crush declares she has the same feelings. I felt gutted and sick at the same time. Swore that I would never regret not acting and pretty much would rather try than miss an opportunity like this again. Fast forward 2 years later, one of the hottest girls at school, who was so sweet, I have a huge crush on, decided to act and asked her out. Got told no the first time, was really drunk, but kept going, and the two of us fell madly in love. Married her after varsity and have 3 wonderful kids. Been together for 18 years. Thank you first nameless crush, that ensured that I did not miss out on the best thing that has happened in my life. Laying in her bed, dozing off, probably thinking about the road trip we have coming up this weekend. We began dating in high school, sophomore year. I'd walk her home, we'd laugh and play around, and just enjoy each other. We fell in love that year, and we dated all the way through high school. Even when she changed schools for a year and her mom wouldn't let her see me because she was in trouble for having a bad grade from a trash teacher. She came back to my school my senior year, but things did change between us. We didn't end up making it past graduation. Broke up the day before. Long ugly story. We spent a year and a half apart before meeting again. And we spent a few months talking on and off. I was busy and wasn't sure I was ready to talk to her again. But we began talking more and more. And then we spoke every day. We finally got back together a little over a month ago. I've been falling in love with her all over again. And it has been the most beautiful thing I've ever experienced. I'm never letting go of this girl again. She finished her undergrad in our home state, went abroad to the best school in veterinary medicine, and got her doctorate. I used to check her Facebook every couple of years up, until I deleted my account. Now, being an extreme creep, I just check out her Insta. Oddly, she removed her full name from her account. Not sure if that was for a privacy reason or not, but I haven't seen a wedding band on her left hand. Honestly, on appearance alone, I expected her to be married to a prince with how beautiful she is. It does look like she's dating, but it blows my mind that she never found anyone after all those years of schooling. After a quick search, it does look like she's working in our home state. I can only assume she owns a home. I'm sure she's making the big bucks and can afford it. I'm happy for her, but it does embarrass me a little bit with how little I've with my life. Not saying I ever had a chance with her. I wasn't affluent enough. Wow, that makes her sound materialistic. It was just, she outclassed me in every which way, and I think that's why I always saw her as the perfect one. Ever since that bus ride, when I first met her and looked into her eyes. I would pay money to go back to that moment. It made me real. It made me feel like someone. I really don't look up much in life anymore, but she was the first and only one I could never stop looking at. Funny story. My crush and I dated briefly in high school. She dumped me before the senior year was over. Then I joined the army after graduating, and didn't really see her ever again after that. Little chance encounters here and there, but no sparks reignited. I always thought about her though. Fast forward 10 years later, and we suddenly reconnected. Dated for 3 years. It was really great, but she had developed a glaring flaw: alcoholism. I struggled with my love for her weighed against my fear that she was going to drink herself to death. After 3 years she ended up buying a brand new car behind my back when our financial situation was dire, and then she ended up getting a DUI within 1 week of the purchase. I dumped her, and I got my life squared away. Realized my love for her was enabling her to continue as an alcoholic, and was holding me back as well. I'm doing much better for myself now. She has more or less stopped drinking so regularly, so that's a good thing. But I can never take her back. I feel like that will make everything worse. I miss her very much, and I appreciate the love we shared. It was so genuine and true, but also so flawed. I sometimes wonder if I made a mistake. But she betrayed my trust and put us in too much financial peril, and I guess I couldn't handle it. First crush ever. I was in 8th grade. My high school was very small and ran 7th 12th grade, so technically I was in a high school. I had a crush on a guy 3 years older than me, cause that's what happens when you combine middle and high schoolers. Luckily, I was smart enough at that age to realize there was no way a then 16-year-old would want to or should date me at 13. So I never acted on my feelings. He went into the army, served in the Middle East, and returned him with PTSD. By the time he came home, I and my best friend had just graduated from high school. He and my friend dated for like 2 months, and then decided to just be friends. Although it was very clear he was still romantically interested in her. At this point I'd gotten over my crush and moved on with different guys and didn't care. My former best friend, I say that just because we fell out of touch over the years because she moved away / not because of this guy that he dated ended up moving away and eloping with another military guy, and that really screwed him up more. I think he's been struggling since then. He was struggling pretty much from the time he returned home from service. I haven't seen him in like 2 years, and last I heard he'd moved to another state for work. He was still struggling with PTSD and trying to keep a job. He was a really nice guy in high school and had plans to serve in the army and then go to college afterwards. It's really sad that he was struggling so much. I hope he is doing better wherever he's at. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe the channel.